Live with studios in Midland and Odessa, you're watching CBS7 First Alert News at 9 on the CW West Texas.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us for CBS7 News on the CW, and thanks for joining us live on the CBS7 YouTube. I'm Alexandra Macia. We start tonight tracking crime. This is viewer video of a woman driving recklessly in the intersection of 42nd and Grandview on Saturday night. According to the city of Odessa, the driver, 28-year-old Blanca Carrasco, was attempting to crash into other vehicles and spinning in circles. She also refused to comply with officers' commands and resisted arrest. The city says when Carrasco was arrested, she threatened to kill the officer after she got out of jail. She was charged with reckless driving, resisting arrest, and retaliation. And in your health headlines, cases of chronic wasting disease in deer are rising across the state. Some cases have even been found here in West Texas. Further spread of the disease could mean more restrictions for hunters, as it would impact the deer population across the state. There has been an increase in cases of the fatal chronic wasting disease among Texas deer.
We do have it in certain areas in the Trans-Pecos and the Panhandle. Lubbock, we got cases detected there, Del Rio, and several other areas around the state.
TPWD's Big Game Program Director, Alan Kane, says CWD causes a sponge-like appearance in the brain.
Not very cognizant or aware of their surroundings, no fear of people, for example. They may stand in a sawhorse-style appearance, drooling, emit emaciation.
CWD has no cure. The only way to confirm is once the animal has died.
It could curtail hunting or discourage hunting in certain areas. The prevalence of rates become too high, with folks to say, I just don't want to hunt there anymore because it's a coin flip that I may harvest a deer with CWD.
Kane says hunters should be cautious when disposing of unused carcass parts, as CWD can easily be spread among animals.
After they've cleaned the deer, take the spinal cord or spinal column and the head, things that they're not going to use, and throw those away either at the site of harvest or in a dumpster that's going to a landfill, or bury them deep enough that scavengers cannot dig up the carcass parts and spread them around.
Kane says the key is prevention. If CWD becomes widespread, it would cause deer to die at younger ages.
You have fewer older bucks in that population potentially. Well, that could be important for a hunter or a landowner that's managing for older age class deer with bigger antlers, if they're selling hunts or whatever, is a way to make money or income for the ranch.
There are 22 zoned areas where hunters must get a carcass tested for CWD. You can visit their website to find where those restrictions are in place.
Really high quality camera, and you can actually, just like on a normal digital camera, you can optically zoom as well as just zoom in really close on the tissue, and you're able to see finer detail, which allows us a more precise operation.
The Da Vinci robot is the newest piece of equipment from Intuitive, and it allows surgeons to get really close to the operation with a much lower risk of infection. This robot is the newest surgery machine at Midland Memorial Hospital. The hospital tested out the new robot by letting people perform surgeries themselves. Today at the hospital, they operated on a stuffed elephant named Bobby. In order for the robot to get into your body for the surgery, it requires just a few small cuts, about 1/4 of an inch in diameter. This is much smaller than typical surgeries without the equipment, and it allows for a faster recovery.
A lot of hernia patients that would be here 3 to 5 days are now going home same day. So we're seeing that the patients get heal faster and are able to go home quicker and recover quicker. We also see decreased infection rates when we make smaller incisions.
One of the negatives to the machine is the lack of feeling surgeons have, because they are using a piece of equipment to control another piece of machinery. They can't feel a skin or body part they're working on. An update for you now on a breaking news story from 2021. The National Transportation Safety Board investigation into the deadly Andrews High School band bus crash concluded the driver of the truck that hit the bus head-on was traveling on the wrong side of the road, but the NTSB could not determine why. The report used video evidence, phone and medical records. A toxicology report found the driver was not intoxicated at the time of the crash. Cell phone data indicated that he was not on his phone to text or call, and the driver passed multiple wrong-way signs before entering the highway. 3 people died in this crash, including the Andrews bus driver, band director, and the driver of the truck. In your local politics, State Representative Brooks Landgraf's SB 1017 bill has had an impact before it even goes into effect. This bill prohibits city governments from banning gas engines. Earlier this year, the Dallas City Council planned to phase out gas-powered tools by 2027. However, after Governor Greg Abbott signed SB 1017 into law, the city of Dallas put a pause on its original plan. Dallas would have followed in the steps of California, who plan to ban all small gas-powered engines by 2024, equipment like lawn mowers, trimmers, and leaf blowers. Instead, they would make everyone switch to electric or battery-operated tools. Landgraf says that even though it's a small victory, the fight continues.
I think we always have to be vigilant that there are small groups of activists, especially in big cities, not only in Texas, but across the country, who are always going to try to infringe on the consumer rights of people who are just trying to get through their day.
Representative Landgraf says Bill 1017 is about individual liberties and consumer choice, and that the government should not step in to influence the market. SB 1017 will go into effect September 1st. CBS7 reached out to the city of Dallas on any comments on SB 1017, but we are still waiting on a response. The Odessa Soccer Association may have to relocate from Sherwood Park to Comanche Park. Odessa city staff suggested relocating after it alleged proper permit processes weren't followed by the association and previous city employees. The Soccer Association says that is false. The Odessa Soccer Association says it was not notified before the City Council, and the Parks and Recreation Department recommended relocating in a July 11 work session. City staff discussed what they say was improper permitting surrounding the nonprofit Odessa Soccer Association's relocation from UTPB to Sherwood Park. The city suggests that the association move to Comanche Park, but President Tom Martinez says the park is too small and will not accommodate the association's estimated 2,000 members. The association plans to meet with the city to show its documented permission to move and work on its storage building.
And after that, it's really the decision that they're going to let us stay here or not stay here. Obviously, the community, the soccer community in Odessa wants us to stay here because it's much, much better facility for us than the other park that we discussed.
The association has invested about $250,000 into moving and working on its storage building in Post to Sherwood Park. Martinez says moving would be a major financial burden on the association. In a Facebook post, the city of Odessa says Comanche Park is a better option for the association. City staff were not available for an interview.
We could have been stopped when the pad was built, when the foundation was poured, before the walls were up. We could have been stopped before we spent an excessive amount of money to relocate.
In a Facebook post, the city of Odessa says Comanche Park is a better option for the association. City staff were not available for an interview. And it's time to take a look at weather. Chief Meteorologist Tom Teeper-Teller is here to tell us what we can expect. Tom?
Well, we are going to be looking at more heat in our forecast, unfortunately, here over the next couple of days. Today, well, ignore that 88 in Odessa, 96 in Fort Stockton. Temperatures were in triple-digit territory for the afternoon high in both locations. Just the reporting sensors failed a little bit earlier today. We're seeing temperatures again up to 102 in Midland out at the International Air and Spaceport, 104 in Big Spring and Pecos. So lots of heat this afternoon. Look outside of live eye cam. Midland, Tall City right now, cloud-free skies. Starting to cool off a little bit into the mid to upper 80s at the present time. I should say 90s out there. The heat's got me flustered a little bit as it continues to go up quite a bit, and we are looking at a lot much in the way of wind out there. But these forecasted high temperatures, well, you're going to get frustrated with this because we're going to see those temperatures again stay into triple-digit territory here over the next few days before we see a hint of a break for the weekend. Thanks, Tom. Midland County commissioners have enacted a burn ban today.
That means that all outdoor burning is prohibited. Officials say that the bird ban will remain in effect for 3 months, and the county says that residents can still burn household trash due to the lack of garbage services. However, the trash must be burned in a barrel. You'll need a water source nearby and can call the non-emergency number before burning. That's 685-7340. And speaking of trash burning, you're looking at a fire that began burning in a Pecos landfill a few weeks ago. Today, the city announced that fire is now extinguished. The Pecos city manager told CBS7 residential trash pickup was not affected, but commercial dumping was paused since the fire started. CBS7 also learned that the extinguishing of the fire was delayed due to hotspots in the area. If you have any questions or concerns about this fire, you are encouraged to call the City of Pecos officials. And the city of Gardendale is under a boil water notice due to a leak on FM 1788. According to the Greater Gardendale Water Supply Corporation, all customers are to boil their water prior to consumption, and once a boil water notice is no longer in effect, the public water system will notify their customers. We'll be sure to let you know of any new updates. And in continuing coverage, last year we covered how the drought here in West Texas played a role in bees not getting enough nutrients and how that's harmful for them. This year, the drought isn't the only issue. The extreme heat isn't helping them either. Right now, bees are going through dearth, which means the bees are being deprived of what they need to survive. Because of that, the heat plants aren't giving off as many nutrients, which means the bees aren't getting as much food, which means that the bees are getting hangry, just like humans do.
In the hotter months, July, August, especially, there's no nectar. There's just no, so the nectar and the pollen is what the bees live off of. The nectar is their carbohydrates, and then the pollen is their protein, and then they turn that into honey.
There are certain times that that bees are very chilled and very easy to work with, but there are other times that it's best just to leave them alone. So you need to be able to read the overall temperament of your bees at the particular time.
You can help the bees by leaving a bowl of water out with rocks at the bottom, plant a garden, or leave a little spot in your lawn unmowed. While most of you might be thinking about the first day of school, some ECISD students are celebrating their last. The Acceleration Academies of Ector County held a graduation ceremony for students who could have dropped out of high school if not for an organization that offered them an alternative education, just when they thought a diploma was out of reach.
We are trying to accommodate kids so that they don't become dropouts, so that they are still productive citizens and they can successfully function within society.
Among the graduates today was Marco Salazar, who you might remember as the young chef who works alongside his brother on their food truck for Tango. Salazar joined the academy after an advisor told him that this program could allow him to complete his education and work as a chef with his brother. Now for a look at today's top headlines shown here in real time with real viewers on CBS7.com. See all of these stories and more by downloading our app or visiting our website at CBS7.com. And still ahead, Governor Abbott says he won't remove the floating barrier along the Rio Grande that critics call inhumane. Details of the lawsuit against the governor next on CBS7 News at 9. The Department of Justice announced today it has filed a lawsuit against Governor Greg Abbott because he has put wrecking ball-sized buoys in the Rio Grande in an effort to block migrants from crossing into Texas. The government says the barriers are dangerous and unlawful. Abbott says he has a right to defend Texas borders. Mexico has lodged an official complaint with the U.S. saying the floating barriers violate 2 treaties governing use of the Rio Grande. The Justice Department gave Abbott until 1 p.m. to remove the floating barriers or be sued. The governor responded in a letter to President Biden saying, quote, Texas will fully utilize its constitutional authority to deal with the crisis you have caused. And he added, Texas will see you in court, Mr. President.
What you see the governor doing is dangerous and unlawful, and it's actually hurting the process. It's hurting the process of what we're trying to do.
They do deserve some credit for the numbers being down, but there's a lot of reasons for that. It's also 115 degrees in Texas right now.
The newly filed lawsuit says the barriers risk international diplomacy and seeks to have the barriers removed immediately at Texas's expense.
Well, we are going to be looking at plenty of heat coming up in our forecast for the middle part of the week. The weekend, though, maybe a little help. We'll talk about it coming out next.
Now, from the CBS7 First Alert Weather Center, here's Chief Meteorologist Tom Tiefertiller.
Well, we are looking for the possibility of some cooler temperatures coming up this weekend and especially next week. We're wrapping up a hot day. Again, temperatures topped out at 102 degrees in Midland and over towards Odessa, 104 in Big Spring. And we had a lot of triple digits, but we're starting to cool off out there as we're seeing a perfectly quiet night so far. A little on the warm side. Here's the reason why. Here's the culprit. This area, high pressure across the Four Corners area. In the New Mexico and Colorado, we're seeing a good northerly flow in the upper levels, but not seeing those thunderstorm complexes on the front range of the Rockies and trying to move down. So we're not going to see any clouds or rain out of this anytime soon. Just a lot of heat and a lot of sunshine is on the way. Now, we did have that sea breeze front get a little active earlier today along the Texas Gulf Coast, but that's as close as showers got to us. A little trailing shower activity. Albuquerque, Santa Fe, over towards Tucumcari at the present time in New Mexico. As again, we are looking at relatively hot conditions still as high pressures in control of our weather at the present time. High temperatures across the state today. Everybody was hot, even areas along the coast that did not get into triple digits. Saw heat index values upwards to 105 plus this afternoon, but the actual temperature was 102 in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, upwards to 108 in Sweetwater, and over towards Rio Grande Village about 111 this afternoon. Nothing happening on the West Texas Futurecast. Again, this is because of that high pressure with the sinking air associated with it. Not going to do too much in the way of even clouds into our forecast anytime soon. So for the rest of tonight, we'll finally cool off a little bit, maybe give those air conditioners a little bit of a break first thing in the morning, but it's not going to last long after the mid-70s to start, all the way up to 102 plus tomorrow afternoon with the south to southeast wind in the forecast, but not doing a lot to help cool us off. And your CBS 7 First Alert exclusive 10-day forecast, next 3 days are going to be hot. Not as hot, and by that we mean that we're not going to see triple digits coming up this weekend across the Midland-Odessa area, as a southeast wind will try to help cool us off, but then up into triple digits looks like on Monday before high pressure really moves away from the area, and slightly milder conditions on the way next week. So again, a little bit of improvement in our forecast. We just got to get through the next few days.
Still ahead, the IRS made an important announcement and the economy is growing stronger. These stories and more coming up in your consumer news on CBS 7 News at 9. Today, the IRS announced it is ending most unannounced visits to taxpayers by its revenue officers. The agency said the purpose is to cut down on public confusion and enhance safety measures for taxpayers and employees. With very few exceptions, unannounced visits will now be replaced by mailed letters to schedule meetings. It's part of a broader plan to transform IRS operations. The union's president said employees' jobs have become more dangerous in recent years due to false, inflammatory rhetoric about the agency and its workforce. Good news for President Biden. His economic policies seem to be working. Morgan Stanley's most recent economic guidance notes the economy is growing much stronger than anticipated and a recession is less likely than previously thought. But they did note the drivers of increased optimism are booming manufacturing and surging government spending on infrastructure. Both of those are key components of what President Joe Biden has labeled Bidenomics. The Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act provided $2 trillion of federal funding to rebuild roads and bridges and modernize the power grid. And still ahead, a recently discovered peculiar dead white dwarf star has not one, but two faces. A first-of-its-kind discovery, a white dwarf star with two completely different faces. It's nicknamed Janus from the Roman god of transition. It has two sides, one made of hydrogen and the other made of helium. Researchers aren't quite sure why the star has two completely different sides. It's possible that Janus is experiencing a rare form of evolution. Our sun will become a white dwarf in about 5 billion years after it swells into a red giant star, blows out its outer material, and with only the core left, shrinks back into a blinding white hot remnant. Tom, I didn't even know that a star could have two different faces.
No, that's kind of a big revelation there, but we don't have to worry about this in our solar system for a few good million years. So a little good news
Well,
there.
that's good to know, I guess. And yeah, very curious though.
Plus, we got to get through this big annular eclipse coming up here later this year, and then we got a total solar eclipse coming up next year for parts of Texas. So
interesting. So a lot for people to look out for.
lots of astronomical happenings in the skies here over the next year or so. Today, not a lot, and not a lot tomorrow, as we're going to see lots of sunshine in the forecast, a couple of clouds here and there. As the heat continues, it looks like those triple digits hanging around for the rest of the week. But the weekend, though, we might catch a couple of degrees of relief and stay out of those 100s.
Thanks for watching CBS7 First Alert News. I'm Macia.